I wish somebody had warned me that retirement is not one long, peaceful Saturday. That's what I thought it was going to be. I really did. I thought it would feel like relief from the minute I woke up. No alarm, no rush, no watching the clock, no ironing a blouse at 6 in the morning while the coffee was still too hot to drink. I thought I was heading into this soft, well-earned part of life where my shoulders would finally drop, my jaw would unclench, and I'd just enjoy myself. And for a little while, that's what it felt like. The first couple weeks, retirement felt almost sweet. I slept a little later. I lingered over my coffee. I stood at the kitchen window in my socks and watched the mail truck come down the street like I had all the time in the world. And I thought, well, here it is. I made it. This is what all those years were for. But then something started happening that I was not prepared for. The days got strange. Not bad exactly, just shapeless. That's the word I wish someone had given me before I retired. Shapeless. Because when you've lived most of your adult life by the clock, by responsibilities, by what has to be done next, you don't realize how much those things were holding your days together. You think the job is what tired you out, and it did. I'm not romantic about work. Work is work. It can wear you down. It can make you old in ways no cream is ever going to fix. But work also puts edges around a day. Retirement takes those edges off. And nobody told me that could feel unsettling. I remember one morning, maybe 2 months after I retired, I woke up at 5:14 out of pure habit. No alarm, no reason, just my body still doing what it had done for decades. I laid there in the dark for a second, and the first feeling I had was panic. Not a big dramatic panic, nothing like that. Just that little jolt of, I'm late. Then right behind it came this other feeling. Late for what? And that question sat on my chest heavier than I expected. I got up anyway, made coffee, stood there in the quiet. The house was still, too still, not peaceful. Still, blank still. I remember opening the fridge, closing it, walking to the sink, wiping a counter that was already clean, then looking at the clock and realizing it wasn't even 6 yet, and I had nowhere I needed to be. That sounds like a gift. And sometimes it is. But when you're not used to it, it can also feel like being untied from something and then realizing that thing was the only thing keeping you from drifting. I don't think people talk honestly enough about that part. They talk about freedom. They talk about finally resting. They talk about travel, gardening, lunches out, hobbies, all those smiling brochure words. And sure, some people slide right into that. Maybe they've built a life outside of work all along. Maybe they know exactly how to fill a Tuesday morning without feeling lost inside it. I wasn't one of those people. My work gave my week a spine. Monday meant something. Friday meant something. Even a Wednesday had a feeling to it. There was a rhythm. There were people I saw, little routines, tiny conversations that didn't seem important at the time, somebody asking how my weekend was, somebody complaining about the weather, somebody bringing in store-bought cookies and acting like they were homemade. You don't think those things matter until they're gone. Then all of a sudden, you're standing in the grocery store on a weekday at 10:30 in the morning, staring at a display of canned soup longer than any sane person should, just because there is no reason to hurry. And that kind of freedom can do something funny to your mind. I used to shop with purpose. In, out, done. Now I found myself wandering aisles I didn't even need, looking at seasonal dish towels, reading labels on things I wasn't gonna buy, pushing the cart slowly like I was trying to stretch an errand into an event. Not because I loved shopping, because I was trying to make the day feel real. That was hard for me to admit. There was also the money part. Now that people do warn you about, but mostly in numbers. Save this much. Watch your budget. Think about healthcare. Delay Social Security if you can. All of that matters. It does. But nobody told me how different money feels when you're no longer earning it. That changed something inside me. Even spending on small things started to feel different. I'm not talking about anything extravagant. I mean standing in a pharmacy parking lot with a bag that had shampoo, toothpaste, and a hand cream I almost put back 3 times because it cost more than I thought it should. Sitting there with the receipt in my lap, doing that quiet math older people do in their heads, even when they don't mean to. Not because I was destitute, because the flow had changed. When money is still coming in from work, there's a feeling behind it, a rhythm, effort out, money in. You understand the exchange. Once that stops, every dollar can start to feel a little more personal, a little more final. And I wish someone had warned me that retirement doesn't just change your schedule. It changes your relationship with time and money at the exact same moment. That's a lot to absorb, especially when everybody expects you to be grateful all the time. And I was grateful, but I was also disoriented. I think both can be true. That may be the most grown-up thing I've learned in this season of life. Something can be a blessing and still take some getting used to. There were days I felt guilty for not being happier. I'd think, Laura, what is wrong with you? You wanted this. You worked for this. You prayed for peace. And now here it is, and you're acting like you don't know what to do with it. But the truth is, I didn't know what to do with it. Not at first. Because rest sounds simple when you're exhausted. But once you finally get it, you realize rest is not the same thing as meaning. A day can be restful and still feel empty. A day can be quiet and still leave you unsettled. A day can be completely your own and still not feel like it belongs to you yet. That was the part I had to learn slowly. I had to stop expecting retirement to arrive already filled. That was my mistake. I thought retirement itself would hand me a beautiful life. I thought once the work stopped, the peace would automatically move in and make itself at home. But that isn't how it happened for me. What moved in first was silence, space, a lot of long afternoons, a lot of, what now? And for a while, that question wore me out more than work used to. Not physically, spiritually maybe. There's a tiredness that comes from being too busy, and there's another kind that comes from not knowing where to place yourself anymore. That second kind sneaks up on you. So I began, very quietly, to build some shape back into my days, not in some grand, inspirational way, just little things. I started getting dressed in the morning even if I wasn't going anywhere. Not fancy, just properly dressed, shoes on, hair brushed, like I had decided to join my own life. I started taking the same walk most afternoons, past the same 2 maples and the same cracked sidewalk where the weeds always push through. I gave myself one task before lunch and one after. Nothing dramatic. Return the library book. Change the sheets. Write the birthday card today instead of thinking about writing it. I stopped waiting to feel naturally settled and started acting like a woman who was learning a new season instead of failing an old one. That made a difference. A real one. And slowly, retirement stopped feeling like a room I was lost in and started feeling more like a house I was learning how to live in. Not every day. I still have my odd days. I still have mornings when I look around and think, is this really my life now? I still have moments when I miss the structure, the usefulness of being expected, the clean feeling of finishing something that had to be done. But I don't confuse that anymore with wanting my old life back exactly as it was. I don't. What I wanted, more than work, was steadiness. And I've learned those are not the same thing. I guess that's the warning I wish someone had given me before retirement. What you miss may not be the job itself. It may be the rhythm, the identity, the invisible frame around your day. And if nobody tells you that ahead of time, you can spend a long while thinking something is wrong with you, when really you're just adjusting to a life that looks free on the outside and feels unfamiliar on the inside. That adjustment is real, and it deserves more honesty than people usually give it. Retirement can be a gift and still ask something from you. It asks you to know yourself outside of productivity. It asks you to make peace with slower mornings and quieter rooms. It asks you to build a life that doesn't rely only on being busy to feel worthwhile. And that, at least for me, turned out to be deeper work than I expected. Maybe even more important work, because now when I have a good day, I know it wasn't handed to me. I helped make it. Not by filling every minute, not by pretending I'm 20 years younger, not by staying busy enough to avoid myself, but by learning a little at a time how to live inside my own life without needing a time card to prove the day mattered. That's something I wish I had understood sooner. Retirement is not the end of effort. It's the beginning of a different kind of effort, a quieter one, a more personal one. The kind where you have to give your own days shape, your own time some dignity, your own life a reason to feel inhabited. And once I understood that, I got gentler with myself. I stopped asking, why doesn't this feel easier? And I started asking, what would make today feel a little more alive? That question helped me more than all the cheerful retirement advice in the world. So if you've retired or you're close to it and some part of you feels a little off, a little untethered, a little surprised by how strange all this can feel, I just want to say I understand. There may not be anything wrong with you. You may just be standing in a new season, waiting for your footing to catch up with your freedom. And that takes time. If this spoke to you, tell me in the comments what retirement surprised you with most. I'd really like to hear it.